Welcome to Tapped In with Tony. I'm your host, Tony Bogan. Tonight we have a special guest. He is the man behind Dad Brag Photography, Mike Cook. Mike, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me beg you to be on your show 4 months. And finally, I'm here.
Yeah, man, you've been doing a lot with photography, especially around Northeast Ohio,
Yes.
whether it be senior pictures, high school sports,
Mhm.
you name it, he's done it.
Yeah, it started all probably a few years ago. I have two kids who are very active in sports. My daughter was a big soccer player. She's now a freshman at the University of Cincinnati. So probably from 5 on, she was obsessed with soccer. And my son played a whole bunch of sports. He's now focusing mostly on football. He's going to be uh, ending eighth grade in a couple days. He plays football for Solon. And so I was always the dad who brought, the $50 camera to the games. And then, the camera kept getting bigger and more expensive, and the pictures kept getting better, and there was more appeal to it. So we had the pictures on Shutterfly. I mean, every dad does this, or there's always like the one dad on the team. But then it eventually evolved. I'll tell you, the moment it happened, where went from the dad with a cheap camera to a professional photographer. I was taking pictures at my son's Solon Stampede game. They're probably 10 years old. And I took a picture of one of his teammates, Jonathan Pleasant, sliding into home plates. The dirt's flying. The kid's applying the tag. The umpire's going safe. So I got everything in the picture. And I immediately showed it to Jonathan's dad. And he took one look at it and it's like, oh, are you a professional photographer? I'm like, dude, don't be silly. I'm not a professional photographer. But on the way home, I'm like, why can't I be? So again, equipment kept getting better. I kept trying to get more gigs. Some of it was just for practice to learn the craft. And now frankly, I have a full-time job. I'm doing as much side hustle photography as I can handle. I do freelance work for SB Live Ohio, and then I do a lot of work in across Northeast Ohio, mostly in Chagrin Falls, but some Aurora. And I always shoot my kids' games. So I'm still shooting my son's football games. And yeah, like I said, senior pictures. So it's fun. It's hard work, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. It's probably one of the best ideas I've ever come up with.
And when did this all start? When did you get the idea to outside of the father saying, "Hey, are you a professional photographer?"
Right.
Where'd the idea come from?
It probably was, after Jonathan Pleasant's dad put the thought in my mind that I could be a professional photographer. I figured, how would I do that? So I kind of mentioned to, everyone I know that, hey, I'm trying to turn this into a legit side hustle. What do you got? So it'd be, a kid's softball game here. It would be, a baseball game there during the summer, shooting a little bit more for Solon, for my daughter's teams. But then, of course, I decided to launch the whole concept of being a professional right before the pandemic started. So that kind of like created an opportunity. I wasn't making a ton of money at it or hardly any, but there's no one at games. So there's no coverage. So, I put on my mask, stay 6 feet apart and just, send emails to athletic directors. Hey, Orange, AD, I see you're playing Chagrin Falls Friday Night Football. Hey, I'm trying to start a side hustle. Can I go there? Take some pictures. And so I did that. And I would post that so that I would kind of get the word out to Chagrin Falls and Orange. Hey, here's a new photographer on the scene. And probably, one of the first games with Orange versus Chagrin Falls football, took a picture of a kid from Chagrin Falls that's standing right in the end zone. And so the game-winning touchdown, he was running right towards the camera. You got, the quarterback behind him with the touchdown signal. And he saw that, loved it. I ended up doing what I call senior buddy pictures for him. So it's him and a few of his friends right after graduation, some cap and gown and some sillier stuff. And so they expanded and like, oh, you do senior pictures. They just kind of snowballed from there. So that's how it happened. And now it's, like I said, it's as much work as I can handle. I shoot for, like I said, with SB Live Ohio, and I shoot for a whole bunch of teams in Chagrin Falls, both soccer, baseball, softball, boys basketball, girls basketball. I'm going to be shooting those boys home games for football in the fall. Do work for Aurora's girls soccer team, a little bit of their softball, a little bit of their girls basketball team. And that's about all I could handle, with the day job, family obligations, and, trying to get 6 hours of sleep a night. It's wonderful. It's fun. I'm getting to meet a lot of people. I meet the parents, the families, the coaches. I got to meet you, so it's fun. Like I said, it's probably one of the best ideas I've ever come up with.
It's an amazing idea because I myself, when I did the video stuff, which mine started before the pandemic, when I
Mhm.
did video stuff for TV2 in 2018, I had a camcorder like they do with Fox 8 and all the
Right.
other the TV stations around the area. And when I saw that and looking back at the footage, I said to myself, I can do this for Keon Sports. I want to
Yeah.
be like a video guy. And
Yeah.
like I said, my equipment got better because I bought like 2 or 3 camcorders that were horrible quality, like
Mhm.
knockoff. And
Yeah.
then I actually bought a legit camcorder and bought my most recent one last year. And it's basically the creative sequence. I like being a creator. Like I talk to creators like yourself,
Mhm.
Lamar Sykes of Sky High Sports, Chris the Creator, and so on and so forth. A lot of that's really big, especially up here in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, it's the key. You need to talk to the people that are shooting the games with you, or at the very least, look at their work. There are a lot of wonderful photographers and video folks around, and you kind of see what they're doing and look at how their pictures come out and like how did they get that shot? Where are they standing? Where's the sun? What lens you think they're using? What camera are they using? Are they mirrorless? Or are they, with the old-fashioned one with all the mirrors? So it's interesting, and just by studying that, you can learn a little bit better. And now the sun's always at my back. I'm trying to fill the frame now. I'm not even filling the frame on this video. I need to get a lot closer. There we go. Yeah. So now I'm taller than you, but it's yeah, it's just filling the frame and just making sure you get the two things you need in a sports picture. You should the eyes and the ball, and yeah, just studying, watching the YouTube videos, and look at my pictures from a few years ago. I'm like, not bad, but I think each season, each game, they get progressively better. I mean, you need the equipment. You don't need the most expensive camera in the world, but you need, a professional equipment. And honestly, a lot of it is luck. I took some beautiful pictures this week just because, look at the weather. It's been perfect. It's been sunny, but, you get the sun going down a little bit. So you get the perfect, yeah,
Twilight.
twilight lighting, and it's just the pictures phenomenal this week. But then during the winter, you're shooting in a gym with lighting that hasn't been changed since 1978, or you're shooting at a football field and it's corners of the end zone are as dark as a jazz club, and so you need to adjust. But no, it's been I like to think I'm getting better in each year, and I think it's evident in the quality of the customers I'm getting. More and more people see my work. More teams hire me. More kids hire me, and their parents hire me to do their senior pictures. So, like, I have to be doing something right. I have to be learning. I'm just hoping it gets better each year.
Oh yeah, because repetitions are key. Like especially with
Mhm.
even with me on the camcorder side, you got to know the quality, the type of zoom. Even with the occasional times I take pictures myself,
Mhm.
my camcorder does like picture stuff. But I do that very infrequently. It's about I'd say 5-10% of my work. 9% of it's like shooting video and like it's really a great feeling when you're catching a 90 some yard INT return for a touchdown or
Oh yeah.
a kickoff return, which I've got a punt return, but I never got a kickoff return yet.
Mhm. The worst play in football, at least for me, is what you just mentioned, a pick six going the other way. Because unless you're just, exhausted and you're standing in the wrong end zone and the offense is going that way, you're not going to get that kid running towards the end zone. So pick sixes are usually my least favorite play, but it's kind of like you need to know the team. What's going to happen with the team. St. Edwards, 2-time state champions, phenomenal team, but their offense is they're going to run 75% of the time. It's usually going to be off tackle or they're going to throw over the middle. And so you know where you need to be for them. But then if you're shooting, say, Cleveland Heights or you're shooting Menor, it's like, dude, they could score at any second from anywhere in the field. Maybe St. Ed's is going to score more points. Maybe they're going to beat them in a game. But Heights and Menor, you need to be ready at any second. Once they're going for the kickoff, you need to be in the other end zone because half the time they're going to run it back.
Absolutely. I remember, ironically, I was at an Aurora game in
Mhm.
2021. I was the one time I put my video camera down, I was talking to another one of my buddies at Keon Sports.
Mhm.
I was talking to him, missed the video of the kid, Jack Hardiman, ran it back to the house. I was like, oh my God. The one time I put the camcorder down, he runs it back for a pick six.
Yeah, it's skill, it's equipment, but yeah, it's luck. You put the camcorder down, someone's going to score. Sometimes if it's like the fourth quarter of a game, you almost feel like, who's this idiot with this huge backpack, this camera running from end zone to get the shot. He's not going to score on this play. And sure enough, tying my shoe and changing lenses and someone's scoring. But thankfully that doesn't happen too much. But yeah, it's frustrating when it does.
Gotcha. And speaking of games, what were some of the biggest games the biggest and like say best games that you've shot as a photographer?
Let's see. I've had the pleasure of shooting 8 state championship games so far. I've shot 6 Ohio state final games for SB Live Ohio, and that's just an honor. I mean, this is like the biggest moment of some of these kids' lives, and you're shooting at the Pro Football Hall of Fame under the NFL lights. So that's an honor. And I shot state championship games for lacrosse for both Chagrin Falls boys and girls teams last year, and that was at the historic Crew Stadium, and so that was a real honor to shoot those games too. But I think the best 2 games are, let's see, 2 girls games from Chagrin Falls. One was the 2021, I'm getting the year right, state semifinal. Girls are playing lacrosse against Rocky River, and Rocky River, honestly, they might have been a slightly better team that year, but Chagrin Falls is just hanging out, but they can't quite get close enough. They're down 3 goals with 3 minutes left, and Coach Casey calls a timeout, gets everyone together, and says, "Look," and very calm, not yelling, not screaming, not a rah-rah thing, not an angry thing. It's almost like a Zen thing. And she says, "Look, 3 goals down, that's a goal a minute. Goal a minute, take it overtime. We'll be in overtime." And honestly, Tony, I probably rolled my eyes like, all right, 3 goals, 1 goal. It's not going to happen. But one of the stars in that team, Peyton Gellin, I have pictures of her like listening to this, and it's just her she's breathing in, breathing out, and it's almost like she's going into this Zen trance. She gets on the field, scores the goal. Literally goal a minute, 2, 3, just like the coach said. And then Alex Genesee scores in overtime with about 18 seconds left. I still remember the whole thing. And like watching the team the whole season, like I know exactly how Alex's game works. And she's just going to cross in front of the goalie, and she's going to throw it just as it gets to the net. And she's going to keep going. And I'm just following her the whole time. Sure enough, bam, goes in there. And her mom likes to talk about Alex, her celebrations. It's the ponytail of joy. So that ponytail in the back will fly up, whenever she's happy, and she jumps up in the air. So I got the shot. We're jumping up in the air, ponytail flying, and then it's like a weird Renaissance painting in the background where you have everyone with their extreme reactions. A teammate celebrating with joy, and the poor kids on Rocky River. One slamming the stick down in disgust, another one just her head's down. But like the parents told me that they would zoom in on that picture, try to look at the individual reactions of all the different girls on the team. So that's probably the one big game. But then the other one was same deal. It was soccer, girls soccer for the state finals. Chagrin Falls went up 2-0. Like right at the beginning of the game. And again, that's a strategy. You need to know the girls' game. Chagrin Falls that year, they would all score right at the beginning. So it was like national anthem. And then you run down to behind the opponent's goal, scored a goal right away, scored another goal right away. Rocky River coming roaring back. But then last 3 minutes of the game, it was a pounding kick. Kate Bartlett. So one of my favorite pictures, I think it's one of Kate's favorite pictures too, is I probably have, 12 seconds or 12 shots a second. So I probably have, 100, 150 pictures of just this one shot where just Kate goes up, kicks the ball. I'm laying on my belly behind the goal. Kate kicks with her right leg, so I know that, I need to be on this side so I don't have her leg blocking the camera. Kicks the goal. And again, same thing like with the cross game. You got Kate's reaction. You have her teammates' reactions. Again, the poor, talented Rocky River kids, but they're just, brokenhearted over this. But you got all the reactions, all the emotions in one shot. And so I like the action of it, but I like the emotion of it as well. And it's just, I know with Alex's goal, in the lacrosse game. Her teammates carried her off the field on their shoulders. I got a nice picture of that, and it's hanging up in the family's home. And just, it's a matter of pride where, video is very important. And I'm sure she watches that video over and over and over again. But I just like the fact that there's a picture in stately Chinese manner, and every guest that comes in there sees this nice picture of Alex, big smile on her face, being carried off the field on her teammates' shoulders. And that's cool. That's why I do what I do. The whole philosophy behind Dad Bragg Photography, and it's right on the website. It says, sit back, relax, enjoy their game. Because, your kid's game, that should be like the highlight of your week. You shouldn't have any noise from work. You shouldn't look at your cell phone. Everything else that's going wrong in your life, for 90 minutes, it should be watch the game, cheer on your kid, cheer on her friends or his friends, and let this guy from Solon take the pictures. It doesn't cost a whole heck of a lot, and I'll take the pictures, and then you can concentrate on the game. Because if you're taking pictures or video from the stands and you think you're doing a good job, you're kind of half paying attention to the game. But the cell phone pictures, the cell phone video, it's terrible. No one cares for it. It's a waste of your time. You're not focused on your kid. So that's what you do, what I do, what other creators do. That fills a need for parents. And I think more and more are realizing that, hey, we need someone at the game. We need someone shooting video, or we need someone taking pictures, or if we have the money, do both.
Yep, that's a fact, especially with in this era, and especially like the young lady that had the game-winning goal. She will remember that for the rest of her life. All her teammates are gonna remember these moments for the rest of their life. So I give all the props in the world. I give any photographer, any creator their flowers, because these are moments like video, like I do, has its place, but photography, especially when you're capturing every single emotion, it's like you're telling a story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes like even the best pictures aren't even like the most dramatic action ones. And I got two this week again with the perfect what's the word? Not twilight, but the
sunset.
The golden hour. That's what I'm looking for. The golden hour. Two pictures I got in the golden hour. One kid from Chagrin Falls, Donnie Hardy, scored the winning goal in a playoff game. 0-0, it's ninth inning, which in high school is extra innings. And it's one of those classic picture stools where very few hits, no runs, but there's always like a guy on second or third to end the inning. So it's just a nail biter the whole game. Donnie gets up in the ninth inning, hits a single, decides he's going to steal second. As he's stealing second, ball gets away, so he goes to third. And the picture I got is just, I have him running all over the bases from first to second to third. But he gets to third, pauses just for a second before he realizes the ball got away. And he's like, there's just 90 feet between me and glory. The ball is somewhere out in left field. And just his eyes bulge out of his head like popcorn balls. And then the third baseman is right next to him. And the look on his face, he's got his tongue just like out like, oh crap, I got to get the ball. So he literally tries to tackle Donnie. But, Donnie plays football, so he breaks the tackle, scores, winning runs. I got all the, the wild pictures of the celebration and the, the two errors and Donnie running around like a chicken with his head cut off. But my favorite is just him on third base, just the second, it's like, I'm going to score. I'm going to win. It's hero time. Let's go. So that's one of my favorites. And then another one from, 2 days ago, Chagrin Falls Lacrosse again. They're playing Chardon. They had knocked Chardon out of the playoffs last year. And so during pregame introductions, Chardon has like a hype video. They want revenge. And so there's like footage from last year's game, and the announcer says, Chagrin Falls knocks Chardon out of the playoffs, and if Chardon wants to, get even, they're going to have to work this winter. And then it's like this rocky montage, the Chardon girls running through the snow. And again, it was respectful. I get it as, as if you're a Chardon fan or parent or organization, yeah, sure, it's cool. But you're a 17-year-old Chagrin Falls kid on the field looking at that. I have like 3 or 4 girls that looking at it, and some are laughing, some are rolling their eyes, and one kid, Bailey Cordo, just looks like her head is going to explode. She's just staring at that and just the rage. Like she could shoot lasers out of her eye into the scoreboard. The scoreboard would have exploded. So I got all those emotions. So that's another fun picture. But again, without the story, I have these on Instagram. Without the story, you really don't know what are these kids looking at. But just it cracks me up. And I think that the girls, even though they've lost, I think they appreciate the intensity, and now looking back, hopefully for them, the humor in that series.
Absolutely. And who would you say? Do you have any favorite athletes that you've shot besides? You mentioned Donnie Hardy.
Mhm.
You mentioned the young lady who's had the game-winning goal. What was her name
Yeah,
again?
Alex Genesee had the one in the lacrosse game, and Kate Bartlett in the soccer game. Obviously, got to preface it, Tony, with my two favorite athletes are my kids. David Cook, Christine Cook. Christine had a great soccer career in Solon, transferred to Aurora her last 2 years. A hip injury, actually 2 hip injuries, kind of derailed her career in high school. But, I still have the memories. I still have, of course, pictures and video, granted on a cheap camera. So, yeah, she's, my favorite female, and son. He's a defensive end for Solon, so preface that my kids are my two favorites, but kids that aren't my kids, there's a lot of them, but I'm going to choose one from Solon. Excuse me. Let me step back. Solon Lightning is where my daughter grew up playing soccer. So those girls there are basically like the founding mothers of Dad Bragg Photography. So all those kids, still care for them and have good memories of Christine playing with them. But recently, I'd say my two favorite athletes, one from Aurora and one from Sugar Falls. One is Bailey McGee. She is a soccer star from Aurora, is going to start playing for Slippery Rock in the fall. What I like about Bailey, I did her senior pictures. Actually, did her brother's senior pictures. It was the first senior pictures I ever did. And I was shooting Bailey's senior pictures. We're downtown. Again, Bailey is this amazing, strong athlete. You don't realize how strong she is until you either watch her run around or she flexes for you. I've never had arms like Bailey McGee does. And again, it's soccer. She doesn't even need, what do you need arms for? But she's got this gun show. And for her senior pictures, I had her climbing up on things by herself. She climbed up on top of a traffic light. So, you can walk, don't walk. She's on there and just kind of directing traffic. I'm taking pictures of her. And again, those are on the Instagram. And I turned to her mom. So, just watching her walk up, climb up this pole to get on top of this traffic signal. I said, I bet you didn't think Bailey would be working this hard on her day off. His mom says to me, with Bailey, there are no days off. So meaning that if you're going to be a superstar athlete like Bailey McGee, I thought, oh, this is the only exercise she's getting, is coming out at 5 o'clock to shoot senior pictures. But I'm sure she was doing, probably ran 5 miles that day, probably, dribbled a soccer ball around for an hour, probably lifted weights, probably did, more exercise that morning than I have in the last 2 years. So, it's just kind of, you respect the work ethic, and you just can't show up on the field and think you're going to be a star. You got to put in the work like Bailey McGee. And I think the other one is a young lady who I mentioned earlier, Peyton Gelling, who Peyton is an interesting case where she's a 3-sport athlete. She played for Chagrin Falls. She's now at Kent. And she was a very good basketball player. But for soccer, as I understand it, her sophomore and junior year, before I started shooting her team, she scored 20 goals a season. So she was a superstar forward. Her senior year, her coach said, we really don't have anyone to play goal this year, Peyton. Will you play goal? And it's one thing to go from defense to goalie. It's a totally another thing to be the superstar goal scorer. The kid with the name in the headlines, the one with the goals, the headlines, the fame. Hey, you're not going to score 20 goals this year. You're actually not going to score any goals this year because you're going to be the goalie. And she's like, yeah, I'll do it. And she led them to the state championship. Everyone contributed on that team, but she was one of the superstars in that. She was an All-American in soccer at a new position. And then she got a scholarship from Kent State after this amazing soccer season to play lacrosse. And I saw that online. I'm like, well, that has to be some kind of mistake. There's no way this kid is a better lacrosse player than she is a soccer player. It's impossible. And I cover her soccer season. I'm like, holy crap, she is a better lacrosse player. God knows how many goals she scored for Chagrin her senior year, and again led them to the state final game. They lost to the number one team in the state by 1 goal in overtime, and it's just, it's amazing. And like Bailey, I mean, her parents explained to me she just works. They've never seen a kid work so hard, and that's what you got to do to be a champion. Another funny thing about her is, remember last year when OSHA was thinking about doing what college is doing now, the NCAA is doing now,
The NIL deals?
the likeness thing, where you could sell your likeness and your image for advertising money.
Yes.
And OSHA thought about it, flirted with it, and then decided that they weren't going to do it. Had they decided to do it, Dad Bragg Photography was going to be the very first horse out of the gate. And the client I was going to sign was going to be Payne Gillen. And I have the storyboards. I have the scripts. I was going to pay her a $50 gift card to the popcorn shop in Chagrin Falls. And the script, we had 3 spots planned, at least all in my head. And the first one was going to be, it was just going to be an empty practice field. And she was going to sit on a stand and look right in the camera and say, if your parents really loved you, they'd hire a halfway decent photographer to shoot your games. And there would be the voiceover, Dad Bragg Photography, a halfway decent photographer to shoot your kids' games. And I was going to pitch this to Jim Donovan at Channel 3, and it was going to go viral, and I was going to be a millionaire. But
you would have had the bag, man.
It would have been, this would be, this is a nice, respectful house and so on, but this would have been a mansion had that happened, all for a $50 gift card.
I think down the line it'll happen, especially with the way NIL deals are. I think they.
Do you think it should?
I think so. Honestly, given the way it eventually made, nobody thought it was back in the day in the 2000s and 90s and stuff. But here it is. It is today. I think it's going to happen at some point in Ohio.
I'm not sure if I think it's a good idea. Sometimes I'm thinking if you were going to sign an athlete, or if I were to sign an athlete, to a little deal, and especially in a smaller sport, I think it would be nice. I think it'd be a help. But you could see, I would fear some private schools would abuse it. If private schools are fighting over a kid, you could do an ad for the car dealership. You could do, I don't know. It scares me. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe it happens and all those perfectly, and I'm wrong, but I don't know.
Fair enough. And speaking of, I know with all the games you've shot, what would you say is the favorite student section you've ever shot?
There's Menor has a very good one. Aurora has a very good one, especially for football. I mean, they pack that place. Aurora isn't that big of a school, but it is. They're there. They're allowed. They won the 2019 OSHA Golden Megaphone, and rightfully so. But I mean, again, maybe I'm biased just because this is where I get paid a lot. But Chagrin Falls, I think, does a wonderful job. They call themselves the Zoo. The Chagrin Falls Tigers. They have 4 captains every year who are in charge of getting kids to the game. And what I like about how Chagrin Falls does it is they're there at every game. It isn't just the big ticket games like football. Any school can fill a student section for football in Ohio, but you're there for girls lacrosse. You're there for boys lacrosse. You're there for the basketball games. And what's nice, you see the kids I shot the girls game yesterday and I'm shooting the boys game today. Oh, look, there's the girls from yesterday in the stands cheering on the boys, and vice versa. The pictures I took of the boys lacrosse game yesterday, Chagrin Falls versus US, it's the boys JV team and then the entire girls lacrosse team. And then it was vice versa the day before. So, I mean, that's cool. I mean, they're loud, they're supportive, but it's just, the sense of community that, hey, we're all in this together. We're all teammates. We're only going to be young once. We're 16 years old. We don't need that much sleep. We're going to study. We're going to practice. But you know what? We're going to support our friends.
Facts. And I remember in the state semifinals in 2021 and 2022, there was a school out in Western Ohio called Cary. It was snowstorm in the Division 6 state semifinals. Cary came 2.5 hours away, full student section in snowstorm. In Canfield, with the weather being a little warmer than last than the year before.
Mhm.
Canfield went over our way. They bought a full student section. So when you have that sense of community,
Yeah.
especially like it reflects on all the other sports, like
Yep.
schools like Walsh Jesuit, Aurora, Hope,
Mhm.
like a lot of those schools, they when you have that sense of community and you have that support, that's what makes it like really fun for the athletes.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing when you shoot the state finals in Canton, and you know it's 7 games over 3 days. You know, Thursday night game, then 3 on Friday, 3 on Saturday. You get to like the Friday game, which starts at like 10 or 11 a.m., and the student section is packed. And then you look at a map, and these kids are coming from Cincinnati, or they're coming from Toledo. You know, going down to Canton from Solon is a hike. Like going from, you know, from Cincinnati all the way to Canton and getting there, you know, in time for, you know, an 11 a.m. kickoff. I mean, that's amazing. I don't care if it is a state championship. It's amazing. And that's one of the cool things about sports. You could have the whole, you know, jock stereotype, you know, like you see in, you know, 80s or 90s movies, but I don't see that to be true. You know, the very little video work that I do is for SB Live Ohio. If Ryan, the reporter, isn't there, he'll say, Mike, you know, get an interview after the game, get the post game celebration, interview a coach, interview the players. And every player I've ever interviewed, you know, I don't care from what school it is, you know, what they're all gentlemen. And it's all thank you, sir. You know, yes, sir, of course, you know, when you need me, you know, and just answering the questions. It's always respectful to the coaches, respectful to the team they just beat. You know, if I'm interviewing a star running back, the first thing he'll do is do what? Thank his offensive line. And that's just like, you know, all right, so there's good, there's sports teach, you know, good things. And, you know, I'm proud to be part of that. I'm proud to capture it for the kids. I'm proud to capture it for their parents and their communities.
Yep, and you do a great job of it. And
That's
speaking of capturing memories, you
Mhm.
also take senior photos, I heard.
I do. And, you know, at first, you know, when I created Dad Brag, I never thought I'd be doing senior pictures. You know, I'm a sports photographer. I've done that. But Bailey McGee's mom needed pictures for her brother. She's like, you know, do you do senior pictures? And I said, of course I do senior pictures. How hard can it be? And I got to research it. And oh my God, it's hard. It's really hard. But again, like sports photography or anything, you work at it, you practice, you study what other people do, you watch your YouTube videos, and I think like the thing I get better at it. And the business model, which again isn't how I planned it, but you shoot someone's team, and it's like, oh, you know, thank you for shooting Shannon's games. Do you do senior pictures? She's going to be a senior in the film. Like, yes, I do. Or if it's, you know, I shot some kids senior pictures, or well, his little sister plays basketball. We shoot those games, so it kind of, you know, works together. So it's, you know, frankly, a very clever business model. So a lot of my clients are athletes, but you know, I'll shoot anyone. Yeah, I love my athletes, but you know, send me your drama club kids, send me your show choir kids, send me your, you know, your tattooed and pierced cheerleaders, whoever you got, you know, send them to me. I'd be more than happy to do the senior picture. So I'm booked all the way through June, and like I'm only going to shoot for the summer because in the fall, you know, I got football and soccer and all that starts and day job responsibilities. So I'm going to try to cram all my seniors in to the summer. So June's filled, a little bit of August is filled. So July is pretty wide open. But yeah, shooting a lot of my athletes from Chagrin Falls and Aurora. And no, it's exciting. And I try to give, if they want it, a sports theme to it. You know, I bought some, it's right next to me. I bought my Westcott fancy lighting system. So once I figure out how this baby works, you know, I can do like the dramatic action pictures at the stadium. What I especially like is, you know, a kid in, you know, a nice suit or a fancy dress on the softball field or the football field, and that looks really sharp. So that's what I kind of want to do. But also what I'm kind of discovering with my athletes is, you know, maybe they love lacrosse, maybe they love tennis, but it doesn't have to be like the main focus of their senior pictures. Maybe it doesn't have to be a focus at all. You know, one young lady from Chagrin Falls I'm shooting, you know, plays tennis, plays lacrosse, doesn't need that as part of her senior pictures. But what she told me is that she plays piano, and she's a big fan of the movie La La Land. Do you know anything about that movie?
I do not.
It is it's a love story. It's a struggling actress and a struggling jazz piano player. The actress wants to be a star. The guy wants to open a jazz club. So we have booked for Shannon a jazz club downtown called the Bob Stop, and they're giving us 2 hours. We're paying them for it, but we're giving them 2 hours. So I'm going to shoot pictures of her at the piano. Again, I figured her shoot lacrosse, tennis. I've seen pictures where it's a picture of a kid hitting a tennis ball, and you figure out a way to make the tennis ball look like it's on fire. Actually, it is on fire. Like, I'm going to shoot that. That's going to be Shannon's pictures. But no, Shannon's pictures will be her all dressed up, playing piano in a jazz club. And it's going to be phenomenal. So I can't wait for that in June. But yeah, again, it's a lot of sports pictures. And so you've shot some Aurora. So one of my students, or one of my seniors, who's also a sports client, McKenna Metzger, is the big softball star. There are a lot of stars on that team. They're a young team. They're going to be amazing in the next couple of years.
He watched a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so McKenna's a superstar. 6 feet tall. She's thrown a perfect game this year, and she's hit Grand Slam home runs. So her senior pictures, it's probably either going to be with a bat, or I'm going to have it manipulate the ball. It's probably going to be like on a stick. But I figured out a way through again the magic of YouTube videos, how to make a ball look on fire. You take a little water, a little soap, a little gas. You put it bubbles up, and you put it on the bat. You have someone light a match. You take the picture, and it looks like the bat's on fire, the ball's on fire. So if I talk to you next and like half my hair's burned off, you'll know that went terribly wrong. But I think I'll test it in my backyard. I'll test it with my kids. What else are they doing? And I think that will be phenomenal. I can't wait for that. And McKenna's up for it. And I even pitched it to her mom, like, Mom, are you okay with us doing things with fire for her pictures? And she's like, sure, bring it on. Sounds great. Like, yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm having fun, dude. I'm having fun.
Oh yeah, so am I, man.
Oh yeah, I can tell. I can tell. You're everywhere.
Yeah, up north. I was in Struthers. I've been on the west side, up north. Shot a game in Upper Arlington earlier this year. It was cold as all get out, but it was between Upper Arlington and Brunswick. I don't know if you've been down there, but Upper Arlington.
I used to live near Columbus, so I know them. And Brunswick, I've done a little work out there, but not too much.
Yeah, I've shot a few games up in Youngstown, Warren area with some of those teams. Bob Senate Park up in Struthers, great facility. And yeah, man. What are the plans for got a couple more questions for you before we wrap up.
Yeah, of course.
First question is, where do you see Dad Brag in the future? You got the senior picks going, you got the sports picks, you got possible NIL stuff if that gets passed down the line.
I think, I think I want to stick with those two, senior pictures and sports, because I think if you expand too far out of that, if you're doing, I'll do a couple of family pictures, and I'm shooting the end of a friend's wedding reception in a little bit, but I don't want to do weddings. It's too much pressure. If I miss a goal in a regular season lacrosse game, it's not good, but it's not the end of the world. You miss the kiss in a wedding, oh my God, then they're going to, rip, you're never going to work again. That's going to get out. Bar mitzvahs, that's too much pressure. The kind of modeling, I don't want to do that. Food photography. I wouldn't mind concert photography. I wouldn't mind doing a little bit of that. My day job has me do some of that. I work for the city of University Heights, and we do a summer concert series every Thursday night at our park. We're also doing a big Juneteenth celebration again this year. Crazy Bone is going to be headlining that. So I'm going to get some pictures of Crazy. I've done hype videos for all those shows. So maybe concert photography, but basically I just want to be, a big time sports photographer, big time senior pictures, book people early as opposed to having to, beg people, come on, do your senior pictures. I want people just knocking down my door. That's where I'd like to be in a few years. I don't want to expand, because if you do everything, you're doing nothing.
Yep.
I just want it to be, the sports guy who does senior pictures during the summer. That's basically it.
And lastly, but definitely not least, where can people find your work? This is like, say any clients are listening to this podcast right now, they're watching this YouTube video.
Well, the website is dadbragphotography.com. Active on Instagram. It's Dad Brag Photography Ohio. Because honestly, I think I tried to create Dad Brag Photography on Instagram, and then I forgot the password. Then I couldn't adjust it, so I had to do Dad Brag Photography _Ohio. So it's there on Twitter and Facebook a little bit. I don't use Facebook that much for the business, but Twitter and Instagram, and you can find all the information there about. You can see my work, most importantly. And then you can figure out, there's contact information there if you want to hire me for sports, or if you're interested in having me do senior pictures. And yeah, that's it. Just I don't think there's many other, dad brag photographies out there. So you do a Google search for it, you'll be able to find me.
Mike, it was a pleasure having you on Tapped In with Tony. Thank you for coming on. For those of you watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe below. Thank you for watching. For those of you listening on Spotify, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. It's available. Tapped In with Tony is available on all streaming services.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I've had a lot of coffee today, so I rambled. Probably I did the majority of the talking for our 40 minutes and 55 seconds. So I apologize for that. But thank you so much for having me on, and I can't wait to see you at a game probably this fall.
Absolutely.
All right.